Greetings, everyone. Hope all of you are having an absolutely fantastic day. We're back again with more Pathfinder, Wrath of the Righteous. And this time, I want to go through all of the party members and rank them. I know a lot of us have different opinions on who is the mainstay, who's the one that belongs on the bench, and I think it'll create an interesting dialogue to go back and forth and compare notes about how we feel regarding this amazing cast Owlcat has put together. This ranking is going to be spoiler free, and consequently there are some party members who are missing. Of course, one is locked behind a romance, others are locked behind mythic paths, some you have to make specific dialogue choices. Those party members will be missing. But at some point, I will do another party member ranking video that will contain spoilers, and it'll have the full roster of all the characters that are available to join your party in the game. For each party member, I'm going to list some of their pros and some of their cons so you have an idea about why they're ranked where they are. And then final note, in my personal opinion, Owlcat did an absolutely fantastic job with the party members. I think all of them have some really cool things to add, and there's not a single party member I look at and say, I don't understand why this person is even in the game. This character is just complete trash, all right? So even though some of these party members obviously are ranked very low, it's not because I feel like you'll have a terrible time with them. It's just that in comparison to the other party members that you get, I feel like they rank low on the list. And with that, let's go ahead and dive right in. At the bottom of the list is Greyboar. So let's start with the pros. Greyboar comes with some great gear. You get him at level 9, and he actually has a +2 set of armor and 2 +3 weapons, which is fantastic for the very beginning of Act 3. And it just feeds into his whole background of being an assassin and essentially a mercenary. So I really like that aspect of him. His base build does a ton of damage. It hits like a truck if you set him up properly. And I like the straight-laced dad vibe he has going on. I feel like his voice actor does a fantastic job of bringing that out of his character, and it makes for some really interesting banter between him and the other party members. I also feel like he makes great contributions during Crusade management conversations. So when you take over the Crusade management, there'll be different situations that you're confronted with, and many of your party members will be able to join in those dialogues and give their own suggestions for how they feel like you should accomplish certain tasks. And a lot of times, Greyboar's contributions end up being stories about assassination missions he's carried out, or just different situations that he's found himself in that he feels like it would be valuable to share with the group. And I find that content to be really cool. Cons about his character: he's very squishy up front, and you don't get him until level 9, so you don't have much wiggle room to be able to make him more defensive while at the same time still making him offensively viable. So I feel like his build really it's really not that great for the long term. And even though his whole dad vibe is different and is kind of cool, sometimes it can be bland compared to the other cast of characters that you have and all of the crazy things that are going on with them. Also, he is true neutral, which can be good from the standpoint of your character can pretty much do whatever and he'll stay in the party. But the bad thing about it is he doesn't have really strong reactions to things that you do in the game. Whereas other party members who land strongly on a particular side of the fence will sometimes have strong reactions to things you do in the game. And I feel like that's more engaging to have from your party members. And then finally, he just doesn't get very much content. He's got a couple of quests in the game, and none of them really create a character arc for him. Next up is Lan. So Lan has a absolutely fantastic archer build. It makes him extremely defensive while at the same time very competent offensively. You get him early enough where you can make whatever changes you like to his build. You basically have him from level 2. And he comes with a lawful neutral alignment, which is really cool because it provides him with a unique perspective, not shared by any of the other party members. He basically comes with, it almost feels like a workman's attitude to the Crusade, where it's all about what is best for the collective, and sometimes that means harsh decisions must be made and we shouldn't be afraid to make them. He's got an absolutely fantastic dry sense of humor that his voice actor does a fantastic job of bringing out. And I really like his contributions in the Crusade. Again, he's coming from that everyman background. And so the things that he brings up and the perspective that he has isn't really shared by anybody else on your squad. And it makes for very, very interesting dialogues. What I don't like about Lan are his quest or his romance. I feel like both are bland in comparison to what you're dealing with from everybody else in the group. And honestly, I'm not going to say this officially because I've only taken Lan's romance through Act 4. I played it all the way through in the beta, but I have not played Lan's romance in the full game. So I'm not going to make a full decision about how I feel about it. But from what I've played thus far, I think Lan fits right in with the other pantheon of male romances that completely failed the female audience or even the male audience who is playing through these games and going through these romances. Fits right in with Jacob from Mass Effect 2, Animan from Baldur's Gate 2, who else? Cartho Nancy from Knights of the Republic, Anders from Dragon Age 2. Like consistently, women get shafted with the male romances that are offered to them. And I don't understand in a game where there are crazy things going on with the female romances that are available to men, why they decided the male romance is the one that should be bland and hokey. I don't get it. And that's the way I feel about it right now. Again, we'll definitely circle back to this conversation after I've actually been able to play through his entire romance in Act 5. Next up is Soseo. So pros. First of all, his build is Cleric. Clerics are absolutely fantastic in this game. A lot of versatility for what they can do. So that's definitely going to help your team. He has a strong sense of justice and doing for others. So once again, a strong perspective that is not necessarily shared even by Seelah on the team. And this creates an opportunity for great banter between him and the other party members, especially those who do not share that same sense of justice and helpfulness. And I really like his personal quest. He gets some of the most content out of all the party members, and it's well deserved. I think his personal quest is very interesting to go through, and you really feel for him and want to help him get this resolved as well as possible. Things I don't like about him. First and foremost, you get him too late. He's already, I think, level 6, maybe level 7 by the time you pick him up. And in my personal opinion, even though Cleric itself is great, Soseo's starting build is trash. I feel like very little is done with those early levels to actually set him up to do well. And so because of that, it's really a while before you feel like Soseo is powerful, whether you're going the melee or the caster route. I think his romance is very mediocre. I have played all the way through it, and I think it's campy. It doesn't have a lot of room as far as what type of person you are when you're in this relationship with them. And I'm not particularly a fan of it, to be honest. I think it could have been done much better. And even though I love his personal quest, I feel like the way the quest ends for most of the options as far as how it ends is trash. And that makes me dislike Soseo more. The ending matters. And it's very difficult for you to get the proper ending for his quest, and it's difficult in a way that the game does not alert you to at all. And I think this was absolutely the wrong choice on Owlcat's part. And so for me, that's another knock against him and part of the reason why he is ranked so low. Next up is Regil. And whoo, I love this guy. Great voice acting. Every single time he starts talking, I am glued to the screen, really want to know everything that he's saying. He has such a distinctive personality. Lawful evil, believes everybody should be willing to sacrifice whatever it takes to make the Crusade successful, and is absolutely brutal in how he delivers that information. Love it, love it, love it. When you're making decisions in Crusade management, oftentimes he will chime in with suggestions. Always, his contributions are fascinating and entertaining to listen to. He is a Hell Knight who do have somewhat of a tie-in with this game, so it gives a little bit of content where he's able to talk about some of their background, and it's cool bringing him around them. All great stuff. He has very, very strong feelings about the things that happen in the game and how the commander should react to them. So when you're out and about with him, he will definitely comment about, why are we negotiating with this demon? We should just be killing her outright. Things of that nature. Great stuff. And because of that strong personality and strong feelings, he has great banter back and forth with your other party members. Oftentimes it can be flat out hostile, and he has no problems with it whatsoever. I love all that about him. Unfortunately, he has cons that are just as impactful as the pros. First and foremost, he has no character arc whatsoever. The character he is when you first meet him is the same character he's going to be at the end of the game, and I'm not personally a fan of that. He has no personal quest whatsoever. He does have a couple of quests where he has to be brought along in order for you to be able to do it, but I don't feel like these quests allow you to learn more about him as a person, become closer to him, learn more about what makes him tick. None of that. It's just stuff that has to be done, and he's like, all right, Commander, I want you to come along and handle this stuff with me. That's pretty much it. And honestly, I can only think of 2 times in the game where you can actually walk up to him and have a conversation. Of course, when you first recruit him, you can go through all of his dialogue options. And then there's one point way later in the game where you can have a conversation with him. Otherwise, if you want to hear what he has to say, you basically have to either do a Crusade conversation or have him out and about and he'll chime in. I don't like that. I feel like there should be more opportunities to have dialogue with him and learn about him. And I feel like there's just not enough content. Owlcat should have given him more. He's a fantastic character, but as it stands, I have it ranked lower in the list. So next up is Darren. And first and foremost, I gotta say, this guy is hilarious. Hilarious. He is hilarious when I'm reading the dialogue, and when his voice actor kicks in, he's even more hilarious. They did a great job with his voice acting. He's got a very solid build. Oracles are nice. You can definitely make great healers out of them. And as you get further into the game, he's going to have the flexibility to do other things as well. So no real problems there. He's got an interesting quest line, but there are issues with it we'll get into when we get to cons. You get him early enough where you have some flexibility about what you want him to do. So you're not forced to just stick with Oracle. Because he's so hilarious, he has absolutely fantastic banter with your other party members, and his contributions to the Crusade are fantastic as well. Most of the time, I find myself not siding with Darren. I feel like the things he offers aren't really that great for you, but the content of the dialogue itself is great and oftentimes has me laughing out loud. So they did a great job with this character. Cons for Darren. He has no character arc, so I definitely feel like he's the same person all the way through. And while the quest line he has, it is fascinating when it's presented to you, but there is not enough content in it throughout the game, and I personally found the ending of his quest line very dissatisfying. I felt like they presented you this huge mystery and did not truly explain the mystery at the end. It's not, I wouldn't so much call it a loose thread. The case is closed, the thread is not left dangling, but you're kind of left with more questions than answers, and I don't like that. I'm not a fan of the way they did that at all. And consequently, I don't like Darren's overall ending in the game. He's got a couple of different options. I don't like either one, to be completely frank with you. And that makes me put him lower in the list because I just feel unfulfilled with him. And he's another example of a character who really needs more content. Next up is Woljev. So Woljev has a fantastic build. You get him super early so you could do whatever you want. But if you stick with Eldritch Scoundrel, you're great. If you do what I did, multi-class Eldritch Scoundrel with Arcane Trickster, you're still great. He's just absolutely fantastic no matter what you want to do. Really, really a boon to your team. Solid voice acting. The voice actor really brings out the scoundrel part of Woljev, and I feel like he did a great job. He has a real character arc in this game. He can become a different person over time. He's not going to be wildly different, but he definitely learns things from you, and you do have some ability to change Woljev if that's what you choose to do. I feel like he probably has the best personal quest line in the game, and it is a ton of fun. It's very, very personal to him, so it allows you to learn a lot more about him as you're going along through the game. I just feel like they did a great job with it overall. He fits in with any party, not only because of his build, but also because he's neutral while still being chaotic. So he's pretty much down for whatever. But unlike Greybor, I feel like Woljev has a lot of instances where he comments on what you're doing in a negative way because he wants to avoid conflict. And so he's like, do we really have to go ahead and do this? So you still, even though he's neutral, you still get a lot of great input from him. What I don't like about him, first and foremost, I think it's very weird that Woljev doesn't have a romance. I think he would be a much more engaging character for a romance, especially considering what he has going on, than Lan would be. And he mentions multiple times, you know, trying to talk to girls and trying to talk to some of the people on your team, things of that nature. So it's not like he's this celibate dude. So I don't understand why chicks weren't given the opportunity to try to pursue a romance with him. And it's kind of weird to me with his character, because every time I hear a banter about that subject, I'm like, why did Owlcat put this in but not make the character romanceable? But even more importantly for me, I'm the kind of guy, I don't like in-between characters, to be honest with you. I want you to be either straight up evil or straight up good, and then I have to figure it out. These gray characters that are really kind of evil, but they are right with it if you do good things, they don't necessarily appeal to me personally. And that's really the only reason I have him ranked lower. There's honestly nothing really wrong with Woljev, and I feel like he's an absolutely fantastic character. Next up is Arueshalae, and I can already hear the fanboys going crazy. How could you rate her so low on your list? I'm glad you all love her. She's not that high for me, but she is a great character. First and foremost, she has a great character arc. I know we've seen this story 1,000 times before. Demon is trying to become good, redeem herself, things of that nature. It's not new, but they did a very, very great job with it. I thoroughly enjoyed going through her personal arc and her quest line. She is a fantastic archer. Espionage expert is great, and it allows her to do some buffing, so she's able to do great damage and help buff your party all in one package. So very, very nice. I think her romance is absolutely fantastic, and it was a blast going through it. So definitely kudos to Owlcat on that. What I don't like about her, while her build is good, you get her so late. Again, she's another one that you don't get into level 9 or 10, somewhere in that range. You can't, it's very, very difficult to switch her to something else, and it's not really optimized, right? So again, she can do a great job. She'll be great in your team, but I never really felt like she was mine. You know, I always felt like it was a build that I basically borrowed from somebody else, and I was playing around with it, making the most of it that I could. Also, I feel like her banter is mediocre, to be honest. because a lot of times she's so shy and reserved and barely wants to say anything that I don't feel like the interactions she has with your teammates really all that great. And just in general, I'm not into the whole cute and innocent type of play character. It's not my style at all. So that aspect of her character, it just doesn't appeal to me. But I'll be honest with you, the things I've already listed are not my biggest con with Arueshalae. And this con that I have is probably the biggest con that I have for all of the party members throughout the game. And I'm certain that those of you who either A, do not care about evil playthroughs, or B, appreciate the way that Owlcat sticks to lore are not going to care about this or are going to completely disagree with me on this. But this is going to be one of those rare situations where I say, I don't care what the lore says, they should have just done this. It does not make any sense to me that if you corrupt Arueshalae and turn her evil, you can't romance her. Like basically she becomes just another party member. I think that's whack. I think that's incredibly crazy whack, and that they should have allowed you to continue to have a relationship with her that was different if she became evil and a true demon again. You get 2 examples of demon couples in this game. Their relationships are crazy, it's chaotic, they're trying to kill each other all the time, but they are absolutely relationships. And I don't understand why Owlcat refused to give us the same thing for Arueshalae. A demon corrupting Arueshalae and then continuing his relationship with her makes 100% sense. And I can guarantee you there were people looking forward to playing Demon who planned to do exactly that, who were crushed, who were like, what in the hell is going on? So I don't understand the reason. I don't care if it's lore accurate. I don't think it makes sense. I'm not with it. And frankly, it causes me to rate her character lower. If you got a same quality romance on the evil side as you did during the good side, and were able to take that all the way through the end of the game, she might be #1 on this list. But as it is, nah, I can't do that. I can't do that. I don't appreciate the way they handled this. Next up is Ember, another character I love. First and foremost, her build is fantastic, no matter what you want to do with it. She's a good off healer. I don't feel like she's great as your primary healer because she can't channel energy, but if you just need an off healer that can throw out some heals for your group, she's great at that. She's a great blaster, so she can do fantastic fire damage. She's great with her hexes at disabling enemies or protecting your allies, and she's great at being able to buff your entire party as well. She is a fascinating character. Fascinating. Out of all the characters, I would say Ember is the one the writing team did the best job on. There are so many times where she will chime into a conversation or say some random thing that is so insightful and so perfect. She is just great to have along in your team. Great to hear the banter that she has back and forth between teammates. And I think out of all the party members, she has some of the most interesting conversations, like combos you wouldn't think are entertaining. They are fantastic. Ember and Windowog, fantastic together. Just great stuff. She has a great quest line that just, I don't care who you are, you get more and more respect for Ember as the game goes on. She is an incredible person to watch develop. You get her early enough where if you wanted to, you could go ahead and change up her build and do something different with her. But like I said, what you get with her from the very beginning is more than good enough. Cons with her. Even though I say you watch her develop over time, I wouldn't say that she has a real character arc. I would say that she really stays the same person and you just learn more and more about what that really means over time. But she herself remains the same, and I consider that a con. I prefer party members who kind of grow and develop and learn from their experience with you. She has no involvement in the Crusade whatsoever, which lowers the amount of content that she gets compared to some of the other characters. And To me personally, as much as I love Ember, and as much as I feel like she is a boon to your team, there is definitely some part of me that I don't like having kids on the team. I don't know how much more simply I can state it, but like in Mass Effect, I was the guy who didn't want to bring Talia along. You know, like I understand the developers created this person so that you could bring them out about, and it's supposed to be perfectly natural that they're here amongst all this violence and whatnot. But me personally, it's not my thing. I don't like feeling like I've got little kids on the team who really shouldn't be experiencing these horrible things. And that makes me a lot of times not want to bring Ember along, and it makes her put her lower in the list. But honestly, Ember is absolutely fantastic. Next on the list is Camellia. So Camelia's got a complex but actually fantastic build. You've got to know what you're doing when you're using it, but if you know what you're doing and you know how to build her up right, she's going to be a fantastic complement to your team. You get her very, very early, so if you decide you hate the build, you could always just go ahead and switch her over to something else. Although because of her attribute distribution, it's not like she can go into just anything, but you do have some flexibility there because of how early it is. She has great banter with the team, especially because there's a lot of things going on with her that aren't readily apparent at the beginning. So her banter towards the beginning can be a lot more mysterious, especially when you figure out more about what's going on with her, but other team members still haven't caught on. Very, very cool stuff. And I think her quest and romance are absolutely fantastic. Very, very intriguing. I think out of all the party members, while I think Woljif has the best quest line, I think the one that's going to keep you at the edge of your seat and like, wow, I really want to understand what's going on here is definitely Camellia. Cons about her. She doesn't fit with all teams. Depending upon the personal alignment that you're going with and what you want the alignment of your team to be, she will not fit in very well. I won't tell you which way she swings, but there's definitely some people that are going to feel very hardcore about, you know what, I don't want to have her around. Like I mentioned before, her build is limited. So while Spirit Hunter is fantastic if you build her up specifically for melee, in my opinion, even though she gets spell casting all the way up to level 9, she does not make a very good spellcaster. And so I do feel like the start that you're giving with her limits you at least to some degree. She also has no character arc whatsoever. So the person she is when you meet her, that's really the person she's going to be all the way into the end. And the quest line is more so about you figuring out who that is and trying to unravel all of her layers, which granted is very, very fascinating, very, very entertaining. But again, it's not a true arc. But honestly, the biggest con I have with her is, in my personal opinion, her voice does not fit the character. And I think she's the only party member that I really feel that way about. But when I hear her voice, when you know who Camellia is and what's going on with her, I just don't feel like the voice really fits this type of woman. And so it's the one area where I kind of wish Owlcat had went in a different direction. I'll be curious to hear what you all think and whether or not you all feel like the voice really fits with what you would expect from her. So next up at number 3 is Seelah. Ooh, Seelah's fantastic. The Paladin is a great class, allows you to be a fantastic tank or a great damage dealer. She's one of the few, in fact, she's the only party member who gets a pet. You are limited to only having the horse, but the horse is a great tank as well, which gives you a little bit more flexibility with Seelah. You can really have the horse out front and let it handle the main tanking and try to have Seelah focus a little bit more on damage, or you could also still have Seelah focusing on tanking and have 2 great tanks running out, taking the brunt of the heat for your front line. She has a very, very strong personality, strong sense of justice, strong sense of being there for other people, doing for other people, caring about other people. That shines through with her right from the very beginning. She has a great quest. She has a great quest line, which gets actually quite a bit of content throughout the game. So you get a lot of opportunities to learn more about Seelah and to see her personality develop. And I do feel like she has a nice character arc in the game. She can be a different person based on her experiences with you. Cons that I have with Seelah. First and foremost, there's no romance. And it could be my imagination. I could just be hypersensitive to it. But I feel like Seelah fits into a stereotype that it happens in video games where you have these amazing, talented black women who are romantically unavailable. There's Seelah here. There's Vivian in Dragon Age 2, Mazzy and Baldur's Gate 2, and some may disagree with me, but I feel like you should throw Samara from Mass Effect 2 into the list as well. I know she is voice acted by a white woman, but I don't care. Samara is a sister. And so I feel like, see, they all fit into this overall, I don't know what you call it, trend, where we can't get quality black female characters in video games who are also romanceable. I would like that, absolutely. At number 2 is Windwalk, and she is absolutely fantastic. Her fighter build allows her to be a great archer, and from what I've heard, she's great at throwing weapons as well. She has a fantastic voice actress acting out all of the dialogue, giving her a very, very distinctive voice that is immediately entertaining and enchanting. She has great banter with the other members of your team, regardless of the combination of party members that you're using. She has a great quest line, which has very, very interesting quests that also allow you to learn more about her and her personality. She has a fantastic romance as well that also is going to allow you to learn more about her. I do have a couple of cons regarding Windwalk, but they're both regarding her romance, and I don't feel like I can talk about it without going into spoiler territory, but I feel like Owlcat made some decisions that made her a little bit weaker. Not weaker as far as not having a strong personality. She has a strong personality, but weaker as in how strong the content you get from her is. I feel like they could have went like all the way with something, and they didn't. They decided to pull back to the detriment of this romance and to some degree the overall game, because I feel like the issues with her are highlighted in several other areas as well. At some point, I will do a ranking of the romances in this game, and we'll definitely have a conversation at that point regarding some of the things that I feel like are wrong with Windwalk. But again, I feel like she's an absolutely fantastic character. And then all the way at the top, there was never a doubt in my mind, the mainstay, the one person in the entire squad that I always feel bad if I leave her at home, Nanio. Nanio is first and foremost hilarious. Hilarious. She is the most consistently hilarious character in the game. Consistently, she comes out of left field with questions and inquiries in the name of science that are absolutely fantastic. She has, in my opinion, the best banter in the game. Back and forth with your other party members. You never know what is about to come out of her mouth, and is consistently amazing. She also has the best chime-ins when you're running around in the game, talking with different characters, and she just pops in with a random comment. Oftentimes, it is absolutely fantastic. The first time you face a Demon Lord, if Nanio is in the party, she delivers the only line in the game that I laugh out loud at every single time I read it. Every single time I read, I know by now what's coming. Doesn't matter. It is still absolutely hilarious and fantastic. She is just great. Her build is amazing. Scroll Savant, of course, is going to allow her to make great use of all the scrolls you can find, buy, or create yourself. And she is the only party member you get who can shut down an entire room with her crowd control or wipe out an entire room with one of her damaging illusion spells. When you finally hit level 9 and get weird, this game becomes a whole new ball game. She is just absolutely amazing. Her quest can be fantastic. I say can be because it's definitely part of the cons, but you learn a lot more about her by finishing her quest. I wouldn't say she has a full character arc, but you have some flexibility with her. She definitely learns something and becomes different based on being with you. Cons about Nanio. The final dungeon for her quest is probably the most irritating 2 hours you can spend in the game, bar none. It is just absolutely awful. It's basically one big puzzle, and puzzles is one of the game's main weaknesses. I hate the puzzles in this game, and the puzzles for her quest are definitely no exception. The other issue with her is that she can be very, very equipment intensive. So she's dealing a lot with illusion spells, which means you need high spell penetration and you need a high DC for all those illusion spells you're going to get. And if you have somebody else like Ember as a blaster or Woljith as a blaster, they need some of that spell penetration equipment as well, and depending on how you use them, you might even need to raise the DC for some of those spells. So it's kind of a situation where if you have Nanio, you might not really have room effectively to have another wizard or sorcerer type character unless you're playing on normal. But if you're playing anything higher, Nanio might take up all of those wizard type items that you really need to make sure she is most effective with all of her powers. Beyond that, I think she's absolutely fantastic, and she easily tops my list of the Wrath of the Righteous party members. But let me know down in the comments, what do you think? What is your personal rankings for the party members? Who is your favorite person that you just can't leave on the bench? Looking forward to hearing your feedback, and as always, if you enjoyed this video, please leave me a like down below, share this content, and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I will see you all in the next video. Take care.